Hello, we are Hydro Man Ran. I am Kevin, and with me is Andrew. Say hi
How
to
you
the
doing?
people. All right.
Hello, people.
So we are two cousins. We talk about movies and video games. In this episode, this is episode 5. In this episode, we're going to be talking about our movie is In the Mouth of Madness, the John Carpenter movie. The video game is going to be Chrono Cross. And then as a special top 5, we are doing our top 5 horror movies. And that was already pre-recorded with a friend of ours, Darren Michaels. So you'll see that come out as the third part of this episode. So we hope you enjoy all 3 parts, or just we'll try to release them individually as episodes. So kind of pick and choose if you want to. You don't have to watch all of them. Um, do we have anything other announcements, or you want to just get into the movie?
Um, Not that I can think of. Let's just get into it. I'm a little bummed out because I had planned to go back and watch it one more time so that I could wear the same shirt, and I just completely forgot
What do you mean wear the same shirt?
from the top five horror.
Oh, no, it's okay. Yeah, I think people forgive us. Your window's still crooked, so that's all that really matters. That's the only continuity that people seem to care about.
Give
But
the fans what they want. That's what I
yes.
believe.
So In the Mouth of Madness is my pick. I guess we'll go over that real quick. So every week I pick, or every episode. What do I always say every week? So every episode, one of us picks the movie, and the other one picks the video game, and the next week we go back and forth. And I think we're kind of on a thing where the person's person who picks the movie picks the top 5 topic also. That's what we're doing, right? I think that's the
I would
that
think so because you definitely
yeah,
pick the top five
yeah.
horror.
Yeah, you wouldn't have picked that. So this one is my pick, In the Mouth of Madness. It's a 1994 John Carpenter film. It was written by Michael DeLuca. John Carpenter is obviously very well renowned and loved and appreciated director. Has a lot of cult followings. He's one of those directors that wasn't really appreciated in his day, and his fan base has grown as the years progress. You got Halloween, you got The Thing, They Live, um, Prince of Darkness. I'm sure I'm leaving some out. People can type in the comments whatever their favorite John Carpenter movie
Didn't you
is.
write that? Didn't you write that indie horror with I think it was Foo Fighters that came out recently?
No, so he's actually in it.
Oh, okay, he's in it.
He's Yeah, so he's kind of stopped. He doesn't really do any directing anymore. He just kind of he smokes his cigarettes, he plays video games, and he plays music, and he has a band. And he in that movie, um, I think he does the score, if I'm not mistaken, and he
Hmm.
also is the sound engineer in their recording. When they're recording, that's John Carpenter. I'm pretty sure because he has a couple cameos in in
Gotcha,
that um in that
gotcha.
show, or in that movie. What was that? Studio 666. That's it. Um, but yeah, so he doesn't really do a whole lot with Hollywood anymore. But yeah, I think he
I can
just.
understand that.
I think if you and if you watch his trajectory, his last few films are really they, generally they're not really well received even by the fans. When you look at The Ward, I think was his last movie. And that was the one with Amber Heard. Was just kind of an underwhelming film. Um, he had
There
Ghost of
she is again.
Mars. Yeah, she's in every episode. Uh, she's in or not, she's not in. He did Ghost of Mars, which isn't really considered that great of a film.
Mm.
Um, Escape from LA, which is a sequel to Escape from New York, is not really considered that great of a film. I'm missing another one in there that's just not. Not really. It's towards the end of his career. Just wasn't really considered that great of one. Oh, he did one called Cigarette Burns. It was kind of a short. I think it was like Showtime had a horror anthology series where every episode they got like a classic horror director like Tobe Hooper or John Carpenter or something like that to direct an episode. And think I think he did the one called Cigarette Burns, or he
Gotcha.
he he may have done the one called Pro Life. I can't. He may have done both of those. I can't remember. Um,
Honestly, prior
so
to this, the only things I knew him for were the Thing and um, Michael Myers, of course. Like, was he
yeah,
involved in every Halloween? I know he's in the main ones.
no. So he wrote and directed the first one with
Mhm.
I can't remember the woman's name. She worked with him for a long time.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
No, not James. Well, I mean, she's obviously in it, but no, he had a. There's a producer and
Oh,
writer
you mean the
credit.
writer? Okay.
Yeah. And then the two of them wrote and produced Halloween 2, and then there was
Mhm.
I can't remember who the director was. It was a different director. And then they were involved, I think, just on a producer level for
Mhm.
Halloween 3. And I think the kind of the reboot sequels that have the last trilogy that just came out, I know he was a producer and he did the soundtrack or the score for those. But I'm not.
Mhm.
I know. I think that was like his, and I think the producer credit is just kind of out of respect. I don't. It doesn't sound like he really had much to do with the movies. He was just kind of.
Gotcha.
He got a paycheck and accepted it and allowed his name to be put on there. I think that's mostly what he did, and
Yeah.
he's pretty honest about it. Like he's fine with that. Um, but John Carpenter is I'm a huge fan of his. He's probably one of my favorite directors ever. So In the Mouth of Madness is the third film in what John Carpenter refers to as his Apocalypse trilogy, which is The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and then In the Mouth of Madness. Um, and the three movies aren't connected. It's kind of like Park Chan Wook's Vengeance trilogy. They're all
Mhm.
just kind of they're tied together in theme, and in the fact that they all have very kind of dark and dour and potentially world-ending type um, uh, third acts. Like everything goes to pot in the third act in these movies, and there's not happy endings at all. So I think that's kind of why he maybe called them that. Prince of Darkness and In the Mouth of Madness are definitely kind of apocalypse movies. Like that's you're seeing everything happening up into the apocalypse, and then the movie kind of ends as the apocalypse is starting in both of those movies. Um,
Has he ever written a movie that has like just like a happy ending, all the bows tied, everything like that? I don't think he has. Well, I haven't seen too
the
many of them, so I couldn't talk.
I don't know if he wrote The Fog, but The Fog is.
Okay.
He did Someone's Watching Me, which is a made-for-TV movie, and it's very much a proto Halloween film. And
Okay.
that one kind of has a. He did a movie called, well, no, Dark Star is very dark and dour and depressing. That one doesn't count. Um, yeah, no, all of his movies kind of have a little bit of a bitter and dark twist to them. They're a little bit cynical. Um, that's probably why I gravitate towards them so much and I enjoy them so much, because they do have a very cynical bite, all of them. Even like Memoirs of the Invisible Man with Chevy Chase, it's still, it's not like your normal. It's not what you would expect from a Chevy Chase movie from the early '90s at all. Or that may have been from the late '80s. I can't remember. But In the Mouth of Madness is from 1994. I consider it probably on the tail end of his good movies. He had one or two after that that I still do enjoy, but this is really kind of the last one of his what I consider his great films. Um, it starred Sam Neill, fresh off of Jurassic Park. He'd done that just 2 years. No. 3 years before. It was 91, right? Or was that 90? I should know when
The
Jurassic
first
Park was.
one, it was, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah. Anyways, so he had just come off that. He had also worked with John Carpenter in Memoirs of an Invisible Man. He was in that movie. And then he would go on to do Event Horizon, which is a science fiction horror movie just a few years later, and like his run of movies in the 90s, especially his genre flicks, Jurassic Park and The Mouth of Madness, Event Horizon, are kind of three touchstones for me on movies that I clearly remember watching for the first time and being like, oh, I didn't know movies could be like this.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam Neill was very influential in terms of the movies he picked, being influential to me. There's Julie Carmen. She hasn't done a lot. She's the female lead in the film. Jurgen Prochnow. I think he's German. He's Scandinavian Germanic. I don't know exactly what he
Right.
is. He's probably best known for I think he was the captain in Das Boot. It's a pretty classic film. You have
He
Charlton
was also
Heston.
in the '90s Judge Dredd, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah, that was a
Mm.
year after this one, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember what he was. I think he was a bad guy in that movie, but I can't remember.
He's got a
As
bad guy personality, like, or at least kind of an aura to him. I can see that.
Yeah. But he doesn't in Das Boot. It's a really good movie. If you've never watched that German U-boat movie, very, very good.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Charlton Heston's in it. Is probably one of Charlton Heston's last roles in a film that has any sort of name or clout. When I was looking at his filmography after this, it seemed like it was a lot of voiceover work. He did have a cameo in that really bad Tim Burton Planet of the Apes movie. Not really that great. You have Frances Bay, who is the grandma in Happy Gilmore. She's in this movie. David Warner, who is from my favorite Star Trek movie, The Undiscovered Country. He's Chancellor Gorkin in that. Love that movie. It's so good. John Glover's in this movie. A lot of people know him as he was in Gremlins 2, kind of the Donald Trump slash Ted Turner type character in that movie. But he's also Lionel Luthor in the Smallville series, if anybody ever watched that. Wilhelm von Homburg is in this movie, given the infamous horrible line and horrible delivery of Johnny Boy.
Jenny boy.
So
I love that.
he is probably best known as Vigo the Carpathian in Ghostbusters 2, though. And then
Okay, yeah.
Hayden Christensen as a young child is in this film. He's a paper boy. If you ever watch this movie, he's not to be confused with the teenager driving their bike at night that ages dramatically. He's the one that whenever Sam leaves, or Trent, but Sam Neill's character leaves the town, he comes back into the quote unquote real world. Hayden Christensen is the little paper boy that he talks to. So that's kind of the cast, and I think everybody, Wilhelm von Homburg is. But actually, I was looking him up. He's actually a boxer. So I mean, yeah, he acts like a boxer. That's fine. He's nothing. He's not doing anything great, and I think he was dubbed over in Ghostbusters too. So, but this movie for me is wonderful. This is one of those movies where I think when I first watched it, me and my buddies would get together on a weekend, usually a Friday night after school, and we would go to the one parent's house that would let us, watch R-rated movies without us getting in trouble. We'd put all of our money together. We'd go down to the Winn-Dixie and then to the movies right next door and just rent a bunch of movies. And this was one of the ones, I think it was a brand new on VHS. So we had to have been like 15 or 16 when I first watched this. And we would bring these movies home, pop them in, watch them. A lot of times they were just bad, stupid movies, and we would just laugh and joke over them. But I remember this one being one where we all sat down and all very, very much paid attention. And it's been one of my favorite movies since then. It's one of my favorite horror movies. Prior to this, I didn't know anything about H.P. Lovecraft, so this movie kind of introduced me to H.P. Lovecraft. And kind of the cosmic horror genre, which I I started falling in love with after this movie. I never, up until that point, like this is one of the first movies I saw that has such a cynical and dark ending. And, I'd never really seen a movie like that. So my take is probably going to be a lot different than yours, Andrew, because I saw this, going on almost 20 years ago, maybe a little less. And to me, it opened up my view on how horror movies could be and what they could be, and just the cosmic horror, the psychological horror, the twists and turns where you don't really know what's real and what's not real, and the entire movie. I mean, like I've come to think that the entire movie, like Sam Neill doesn't actually exist at all. Like his character never actually existed until you first see him. Like he was written into existence by Sutter Kane in this film. So I've developed like my own little fan theories and ideas about how I see this film and what I think about it. So it's I understand it's flawed. I understand a lot of people don't, there's definitely some acting and some dialogue that's not the best. I get it. But I love this movie passionately. I've watched it. I pretty much watch it every year. It's one of those, along with Halloween, that I do regularly watch. So that said, Andrew, how are you going to step on my heart and crush my feelings with your view on this movie?
Well, first off, I'm glad you chose this over Pieces because I went and read about Pieces and I was like, yeah, he made the right choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you may not like this one, but I don't think it would gross you out the way Pieces would. So
No, there were a couple moments that I wasn't the biggest fan of, but it wasn't ones where I had to cringe or turn away. Like there was some blood, but like I can handle some blood. I'm not like a fan of that, but I'll be fine. I deal with worse stuff at work, so I'll be all right.
I would say You Were Never Really Here is far more graphic and bloody than this movie.
It was, but
yeah,
it was, it was, but Joaquin Phoenix just kind of makes that all go away, so I'm good.
And Sam Neill makes it all go away from me, so that's okay.
So there you go. That's fair. I wasn't a big fan, but I was able to sit down and just kind of experience it. I didn't finish the movie and think, oh, that was just a waste of, what is it, about an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty quick runtime. Yeah. It's like 99 or 100 minutes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, obviously you mentioned the acting. I did love the kind of like pseudo Metallica opening, the rock intro.
Well, that was supposed to be Enter Sandman, and they couldn't get the rights to it, so it was John Carpenter sat down with the guitarist from the Kinks, and they wrote that intro to sound like Metallica. That was the whole point, because he wanted Metallica for the intro song. So
the moment I heard that, I was like, this sounds like Metallica. Like it sounds like 7 a.m. driving to school and like listening to rock 93.5.
Yeah, I'll give you some credit that I don't think that of all of his soundtracks, I don't think this one stands up. I mean, I enjoy it. It's very, you know, I do like it. It takes me back to a time and a place, but I
Mhm.
understand it maybe hasn't aged as well as some of his, nowhere near like Escape from New York, I think is still one of his best soundtracks. It hasn't aged anywhere near like that one has. That one's
Gotcha.
still wonderful and beautiful. But
Yeah.
yeah. So
I
I'll
mean,
give you that.
I respect him like really as a artist in general because I mean he's very good with scores. He's a very good director. Even though a lot of his movies I don't enjoy particularly, I can see the talent he has. Um, Honestly, this one just wasn't like because like I really like Halloween. I enjoy Halloween 2 and 3 as well. Um, this one had kind of like a Hellraiser vibe, not in terms of the content, but just kind of the
Yeah.
vibe. Like I was watching this and I was like, this just kind of feels like Hellraiser, and I
Yeah.
couldn't even really put my finger on it.
No, I mean, and
Um,
Hellraiser isn't purely it's not a purely cosmic horror, but it is bordering on cosmic horror.
mhm.
And it's real interesting
Well, I
because
mean,
I think this movie actually came out around the same time as The Lord of Illusions,
mhm,
which is by Clive Barker. And there's like a whole book series where Clive Barker ties together the protagonist um, from Lord of Illusions and the Hell Priest Pinhead from
mhm,
Hellraiser.
yeah,
Yeah, I can see how you can see some similarities. And Clive Barker is definitely influenced by H.P. Lovecraft, which that's all over this movie. H.P.
it
Lovecraft.
was. I
Yeah.
saw that right away, and even before I watched like other people's reviews where they mentioned that as well, I was like, yeah, that's there. And granted, I pretty much despise Hellraiser, so this movie to me was better. I'll give it that. It's better than Hellraiser, in my
Good.
opinion.
You want to talk bad about
But
Pinhead?
look,
I got
I'm
Pinhead
just.
back there next to Jason. He's one of my favorite monsters. Yeah.
I mean, I think Pinhead can take Jason any day in a fight. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just
Okay.
saying. I mean, Jason's too slow. That's his flaw. Um, I liked aspects of it. I actually really enjoyed the ending. I thought the way I kind of looked at it was is kind of it kind of seemed like it was talking about how like society's focus and just kind of love for media and for just consuming film and not not in the way that you consume it to truly enjoy, but just like just sitting there just kind of vegging out. It kind of seemed like it was talking about how that will kind of dumb down society and kind of drive society mad in its own way. In the way that he was just laughing as he watched his whole like basically the entire movie happening to him, and he's just losing his mind. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed that. I enjoyed his interactions with the psychologist. I thought they had a really good back and forth.
That's
Um,
that's David Warner. Excellent,
yeah.
excellent actor. I think he just died like late last year.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic actor.
He was. One thing that kind of just it's not even really a criticism, just got caught me off guard was they mentioned Sutter Kane. And I think I had first read it when I was reading like a very brief synopsis, and I read Sutter Kane, and I was like, oh, that kind of sounds like Stephen King. That's kind of clever. But then they actually mentioned Stephen King in the movie, so he still exists in this universe, which it just kind of took me out of it a little bit because just the odds of two super famous horror writers having like very similar names it just kind of stuck out to me. I mean, it's like not even a nitpick. It's just something that
No,
bothered me, I
in
guess.
fact, that's one of the lines of dialogue that does bother me because um, she references, oh, well, you think these other horror great writers like Stephen King and that's not the actual line, but the way it's worded, it sounds like she should be listing off like three or four other,
Right.
like she should be lifting off like Clive Barker, H.P. Love, like she should be like maybe not I think H.P. Lovecraft would be too on the nose, but she should
Right.
list off some Mary Shelley or something like that. Like I felt like that was there, that line, and it may have been the delivery, the way her tone was. Maybe she did list other ones, and they're like, okay, we're going to get in trouble with these people or something like that. But yeah, no,
Yeah. And I mean,
that
it wasn't a big deal. It just kind of caught me off guard the way it was delivered, like you said. Um, but I mean, again, like if that were the biggest issue, this would be like the best movie ever made. But yeah, so
okay,
another thing I really enjoyed was the scene. It's pretty early in the film. I think it was before he even met with the book publisher, when the Sutter Kane's agent was kind of coming over from the movie store, or whatever,
yeah,
and and when he ended up uh, busting through the window. Even though the delivery of his line was a little funny, I thought overall the scene was actually pretty well shot. Um, I think the only thing I would have liked more was if it was just a longer still shot of just the two of them in the diner while you just kind of see the agent coming. I think that might have improved it a little bit. But I thought that was still a really good shot. Um,
yeah. I can
and
agree with you on that. I think that that could have been really masterfully done if it was just I don't know, maybe the angle of the street and the way everything looked, maybe when I don't know,
it may not.
maybe they just couldn't get the angle right.
They may not have. Yeah, and I don't know. I'm not a director, so what do I know? But I
I
like
was
that. Go ahead.
No, I will say this from listening to the director's commentary though. If
Mhm.
you ever want a film school class on camera lenses and lighting and how to light, because they especially talked about that scene, how difficult it was because you have the light coming in from outside and you have to match the light inside. So basically all your characters don't look like black cutouts, because it
Mhm.
would, especially back then, you were filming on film, you weren't filming digitally. So that was something you really had to be concerned with. You couldn't do naturalistic lighting. Um, so I remember that scene specifically. There are a couple other scenes like in Charlton Heston's office room or office and places like that where they, specifically had to fight with the lighting. And it was really interesting, even though a lot of it was over my head, listening to John Carpenter and the cinematographer. And that's pretty much all you get the entire thing is. Um, like you get no insights into the plot or how he directed people or anything like that. It was just like, hey, what lens and what camera did you use here? And yeah,
Sounds pretty par for the course for John.
it is. It's very yeah. He's a workhorse. You can tell. Like it's not. Yeah,
Oh,
that
you can
that
tell.
yeah.
I took one look at him, and I thought he was dead. I really thought he was gone. He
Oh, there are multiple times in the past 10 years where I got shocked whenever I saw him like put something up on Instagram and realized it was actually him. And I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, he's still alive? I thought he was dead." Like like the fact that that man's still alive shocks me. So,
uh, never quit. Maybe if you smoke enough, you actually kill the cancer. Maybe that's how
that's what he's working on.
he's working hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess I don't even know how to put it into like well-spoken words. I guess just overall the vibe of the film just did not sit right with me. I couldn't really enjoy it the whole way through. It was like there was like bits and pieces scattered throughout that I was like, oh, that was really good. But then it was like a long period where I just was not was not enjoying it. Um, I really enjoyed one of those things I really enjoyed was when he was on the bus driving back, and then Sutter King kind of appears next to him,
Yeah.
and then he makes the whole bus blue. That was a I really like that scene. That was the one. That was one of the times that it showed like real fear in the
Right.
character, real fear in the movie. I thought that was really well done as well.
Yeah, and that was interesting because that was like one of the scenes where they talked, like went into a lot of depth on how they made it. And if you're ever watching it, it's a completely different bus. Everybody's wearing like blue clothing. They've
Mhm.
dyed the old woman's hair to like they didn't put a blue tint on the camera or anything like that or after it. There's
Mhm.
blue tint on the windows, I think, but everybody's dressed in blue. They have soft blue light on them, and then like they dyed a bunch of people's hair blue. So that's why you're getting everything as blue. Whereas today you would just digitally grade it as blue. And I was like, oh, that was like that's what filmmaking used to be. You had to be clever and really think about it and
Yeah.
do these complex things for what, 5 seconds, 10 seconds of a shot just to get an effect from a character. Yeah.
It really shows his talent too, because just at that time having to do what he did in order to actually get the full effect. Whereas, like you said today, anybody could just change the palette, could just change the color.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, I definitely, even though this film just simply wasn't for me, I do respect him as a director and his talent. It's clearly there.
So
Um,
is it the tone or is it the I don't think it would be the pacing because it does move by at a pretty quick clip.
it's not the pacing.
Um,
It definitely
well,
the tone and kind of just inconsistent with me. Um,
okay.
I did get kind of like a room 1408 vibe when he first comes out, and then he's at the I guess like as these he kind of gets like thrown like into the street, and there's that kid on the bike, and then he kind of goes back to his hotel, and for like a moment you're like, oh, he's better now, but then he kind of gets pulled back into that world. Um, that just kind of made me think of that movie because pretty much the same thing happened in there. Although I guess they would have taken that from this movie. But yeah, it felt inconsistent. The tone for me was definitely just not my style. I don't know if I can say it was bad or not because I'm not the biggest horror fan, obviously.
Right.
Um, but and of course some of the acting, but we already touched on that. But again, it was by far not the worst movie I've seen this year or in general. Um, it
I,
wasn't one that
I
I
appreciate you
didn't.
saying that.
Let me put it this way: I didn't finish it and think, um, you know, I wish I hadn't seen that. I didn't think that.
Okay. All right.
There's definitely movies where I was like, yeah, I could have just not done that. It
I'll
was
take
worth
that.
seeing for what it was. It definitely had a, and I enjoy watching movies from different decades, especially now because it's just kind of fun to see what it was like then. But and the ending definitely bumped it up for me. I enjoyed how it ended. It wasn't like some. I was kind of worried, like going into it, that I was like, there's going to be some kind of just like mass slaughter, or just like I'm going to just see like carnage everywhere. But instead, him just kind of like the way he just kind of confused, just walking out into kind of this like empty, desolate area, and you can kind of feel that there was like something that's like something happened there prior to him walking out, and then him just going into the theater and just losing his mind. That I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a very strong way to end it.
Yeah. No, and I clearly remember that from the first time watching it, how, as a teenager, I think, yeah, there wasn't a lot of blood. There weren't any boobs in the movie. So I do think that as a
Which is
teenager,
weird for him. That's weird for John Carpenter.
not really. No, John Carpenter doesn't do a lot of. I'm trying to
Weren't
think if
there
he
boobs in
does.
like all the Halloween films, or am I thinking of a different series?
You're thinking of the Rob Zombie remakes. Yeah. And
Okay, I probably am. Yeah,
and,
those were just full of nudity.
and in the future ones there may have been, but
I
I'm
haven't
trying.
I haven't seen the future ones.
I would say
I didn't even watch the second Rob Zombie one. I couldn't. After the first one, I couldn't handle it.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I can understand that. I don't hate those the way a lot of people do. Now I will say that. So okay, in the very first opening scene of the very first Halloween movie, there's that oneer shot as you're seeing. the parents leave for the night, and I think you see young Michael Myers and the girl and the boyfriend go upstairs, and
Yeah,
then the boyfriend comes
that
back
was a great shot.
downstairs. And then I think when you get upstairs, I do think you see the sister maybe naked. I think that's the only time in
Mhm.
a John Carpenter movie I can think of where you see nudity. I can't.
Okay, I'm probably yeah. I guess I'm just thinking of other things then.
Yeah, I don't. I'm sure. I'm really.
You're probably right. You've seen a lot more of his stuff in just films and just horror films in general than I have.
Yeah, because I
Um,
mean, even like the thing, is like is praised for its practical effects and for it does have some gore in it. But that's like like his other stuff. He's not very gory. It's more about setting a tone
mhm.
and letting this unease, like even the first Halloween, like it's about setting a tone. And I think that's where his movie either connects with me or it fails with me, is whether or not he's able to really set a good solid tone. And I think this movie, and it may be why you don't like it, I think he does set a good uneasy tone. It's got a slight, ever so slight film noir type feel, but it's also kind of, he uses a lot of wide angle lenses, and I learned that only from reading the director's commentary. It's not like it's something I know, but wide angle lenses kind of diffuse the edges, so they're a little bit out of focus.
Mm.
Especially when you're pulling back, whenever you look at those shots, you'll see like the middle section is very in focus, and all of the framing is kind of blurry. And I think that on top of everything gives a very uneasy feeling to the film. So I think this movie really works well for me because of the tone that he delivers.
I can
Um,
see that. And honestly, with me being a horror film, it just has a very high bar to get over for me. Like it could be a very well made film, and I still may not enjoy it because it's just not a genre I can enjoy as often as
right.
other people. Um, but again, I
Oh,
mean, it wasn't bad. I don't know. Like if I'm gonna keep it simple, it wasn't bad.
I'm glad it wasn't bad.
I will not stomp on it the way that you're gonna stomp on Chrono Cross. I'm sure.
I I I, I I think you'll be surprised at how little I stomp on that. I was kind of giving you a hard time,
Oh,
because I thought
yeah,
you were going to stomp on In the Mouth of Madness. Um, do you think this is a movie you would rewatch, or you would go back
probably
and
not.
okay,
Probably not. I mean, I think if I were to rewatch it with you, just to hear your commentary and your take on it, that might be the only time I'd watch it. Only because that to me would be really like fun to hear about. Like I
oh,
enjoy learning about film and stuff like that, so that'd be fun. But as far as just sitting back and watching it again, I doubt it.
that's been a full week since I watched it now. So, and I've only watched it twice so far this year. So I'm ready whenever you are. We can watch it again.
Uh, for sure.
Do you have any interest in watching? I don't know. Have you seen The Thing? Have you
I
any
still
interest
haven't
in?
seen the thing.
Okay.
I really want to see the thing because I know how just well praised that movie is in general. I really want to see the thing. Don't really have much interest in the Prince of Darkness.
Yeah, that's one that I like, and I can admit I think that's one of Carpenter's lesser films. As much as I
Mhm.
like it, it's I think it's good. I think it's one that sets a good tone. I think it has a really good score. I really like his score on that one. But yeah, it's not one I can really recommend. It's kind of it's a bit of a mess in terms of the plotting and the characters. Um, so yeah,
Mhm.
I love it. If you'd have really loved this one, then I probably would have recommended you watch that one. But if you're
Gotcha.
if you're like, I don't think out of the three, I think that's the weakest of the Apocalypse trilogy. So I can't recommend that one. But to
Gotcha.
anybody else out there that's a big fan of Carpenter, if you like all of Carpenter's stuff, and especially in The Mouth of Madness, haven't seen Prince of Darkness, I would recommend checking that out for anybody else, though. I think it's a lot of fun. It's got some. Uh, who's the actor? There's a guy from Big Trouble in Little China. Another John Carpenter film. He's in there. He's
Oh,
really excellent. Yeah, I can't think of his name.
I know his name. Yeah,
It's the Asian the Asian buddy
right,
of Kurt Russell. He's in that. And
right.
yeah, he's really great.
Yeah. So, do you think Papa would have liked this?
Absolutely not. No,
Okay,
no
good.
way.
I didn't think
No.
so. I didn't think so either.
No, I think I could have faked him into maybe liking it with I think there's an opening. I think he would have been I could have tricked him into watching at least the first 30 minutes with that opening shot where um Sam Neill's character is explaining the fraud investigation about the guy
Yes,
who burned down. I think I could have, because that is such a film noir scene. I think I could
I
have
liked
tricked
it. Yeah.
Papa into such like everybody's just sweating and smoking in that scene. And I was like, I think I could have tricked Papa at least sitting into the first 30 minutes, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, once the granny has her naked husband handcuffed to her ankle, I think he would have definitely been out. But I think I could have gotten him until then.
Yeah. That was probably the first moment where I was like, Kevin, what are you showing me, man? What are you showing me? I did I did like the way his character was made was a really good like contrast for the film because he was basically made to be skeptical. Um,
Right.
which is I think the perfect setup for this movie because it really shined through the whole way through, which at times it was kind of annoying because it got to the point to where it was like, dude, come on, clearly you're not clearly there are things going on that you do not understand. But I mean that's pretty typical for just about every movie where that happens, so that's pretty consistent.
Yeah, but his character is very much, and I say this because I probably borrowed a lot of my character from who I am from this character. He's very much an arrogant cynic, and he wants to
Yeah,
figure everything out, and he gets very frustrated when he can't figure things out, but he still strongly believes that everything is rational and everything has a rational cause and effect. Um,
and characters like that are really good for this film. The ones
yes,
who are very loyal to their like rational worldview, to the point to where if it's outside that, then clearly there's some kind of trick going on. There's some kind of like magic trick going on that they just need to work harder to figure it out.
We're leaving.
I think the way his character is written, I see bits of myself, and maybe because I've made myself like the character as years have gone by. I think that's another reason why I continue to like this movie, and it's continued to be a favorite of mine as years gone by. Because yeah, yeah.
So if me or April ever just kind of walk in and you're just laughing hysterically at this movie, is it too late for you? Should we just kind of take care of you or what?
Yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
pretty much do that every time I edit one of our one of our episodes. I just sit there and laugh crazily.
uh,
I have crosses and with black crayon drawn all over my face. Yeah.
nice. Good
Okay.
stuff. So, anything else that you can think of about this?
Um, the only other thing I think that's of any interest is so K and B did the effects on this movie. So it's Kurtzman, Nicotero, and Berger, and they kind of got together on Evil Dead 2. That's where they met each other. But
Okay.
Greg Nicotero is known for The Walking Dead. They're also, I think they're big for me. Their big claim to fame, because I still every time I watch the movie, I'm shocked that it's a practical special effect, and I don't understand how it's done and how it's done so well. And that's the buffalo skinning in Dances with Wolves. They did that effect, and
Oh, wow.
just an amazing, amazing effect. I think they won an Oscar for that. So those guys are the ones that did the effect, at least like building the creatures that you see, chasing him down the corridor towards the end there. You don't really get a good look at, which has always kind of bothered me. Every time I watch the movie, I want to get a better look at all the little monsters and see them. But I think the effect is good there still. So yeah, those are pretty well known guys in the effects world. Just thought I'd give them a little bit of credit. So
Rock on. Nice.
We're leaving.